Most people dream of becoming entrepreneurs, but here's the problem. They focus on building the perfect idea, the right business plan, or raising money. And they skip the one skill that actually decides whether you make it or break it. Sales. I've been in sales, particularly cold calling, for about half a year now. And I've been interested in entrepreneurship in general for almost a half a decade, while also starting 3 different businesses during that period of time. In my opinion, sales is the best possible starting point if you want to start your own business. Especially also if you're thinking about buying your own business through ETA, entrepreneurship through acquisition, which I've talked about multiple times on this channel already. In this video, I'll show you why sales is the ultimate foundation for entrepreneurship, how it prepares you to buy, run and scale companies, and the real difference between someone who knows sales and someone who doesn't. And of course, I'll also share some personal stories about my own sales journey. Let's be real here. School doesn't teach you how to run a business. Even a business degree teaches you concepts, frameworks and theories, but not the actual game. Sales, on the other hand, throws you right into the arena. Every day you have to deal with rejection, solve problems on the fly, and learn how to create value for other people. That's basically business in its purest form. If you strip everything down, a business survives because of one reason: it sells something to people who are willing to pay for it. If you can't do that, then nothing else really matters. Now let's connect this to entrepreneurship through acquisition. ETA basically means to take over an existing business with customers already in place, existing cash flow, for example, processes and systems which are already working, and so on and so forth. Buying a business sounds a lot like paperwork and finance, but here's the truth: it's all sales in the end. First, you're selling yourself to investors who might back your deal. Then you have to sell yourself to the current owner, who has to be convinced to hand you over their life's work. And then also, once you own the business, you have to sell your vision to the employees so that they stay and they believe in you. At the end of the day, you're obviously also selling customers, because without them you don't have cash flow and therefore not really an existing business. In other words, if you have done sales before, you're basically trained for every single step in ETA before even buying a business. Let's play out 2 scenarios. Imagine 2 people buy the exact same business. Person A has never done sales. They basically freeze when a big client pushes back. They avoid tough conversations with employees and they get nervous whilst negotiating with the seller. Person B, on the other hand, has spent 1 to 2 years in sales. They've been rejected thousands of times. They know how to handle objections and they're confident in difficult conversations. Who do you think is able to stabilize and grow the business faster? I think it's pretty obvious. Sales is like weightlifting for entrepreneurs. It builds a muscle for resilience, confidence, and communication. Without it, you're basically stepping into business ownership completely untrained. Now, I'll be honest, when I started in sales, I wasn't particularly great. I remember my first calls. My voice was not really confident. I was overthinking every objection, and every no felt like a punch in the stomach. But that's exactly the point. Sales forces you into discomfort every single day. And as you probably know, discomfort is super important to grow into the person you want to become. Plus, in sales, over time, discomfort will become the new normal. So it basically shifts from being discomfortable to just being normal for you. Half a year in, I can clearly see how much more confident I've become. I can pitch myself better, I can communicate my ideas more clearly, and rejection doesn't bother me anymore. And rejection is super important here because it's just part of the game. Whether it be in business or in your personal life, you will always have a certain level of rejection you have to overcome. And the crazy part is I already know that all these skills will transfer once I sit in front of an investor or a business owner. Because at the end of the day, it's the same skill set, earning trust and showing value. Here's something most people don't realize. Sales is not just about making money, it's about rewiring how you think. You start seeing opportunities everywhere because everything in life is a value exchange. You stop being scared of hearing no, which makes you more willing to take risks. You develop people skills because sales forces you to listen, not just talk. And those invisible benefits are exactly what make great entrepreneurs. Most successful founders didn't start with a genius idea. They started with the ability to sell an average idea extremely well. So if you're a bit like me, you might now be thinking, all right, I get it, but how do I actually start? Well, here are some practical ways to do it. First, obviously, get a sales job. It doesn't really matter whether it's SaaS, real estate, insurance, or whatever. You get paid to learn the #1 skill in entrepreneurship. You can also sell something on the side, maybe a product online or a service to people you already know. Third, obviously, educate yourself from a theoretical perspective. Books like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie or Cold Calling Sucks by Armand Farrokh will help you tremendously in that sense. You can also do role play. Grab a friend or even a mentor and try to handle his or her objections. This might be a bit silly at first, but it can be extremely powerful in the long run. And then, extremely important, measure yourself. Keep track of how many conversations you have per week and watch how your ratios improve. Sales is usually not a talent you're just born with. It's a skill you can build, and the earlier you build it, the more it compounds. It's basically like investing. So here's my point. If you want to become an entrepreneur, don't just obsess over business plans and startup ideas. Start with sales. It's the training ground that prepares you for everything you'll face in ETA or running your own business. From investors to employees to customers, everything is sales. And the sooner you'll master it, the sooner you'll feel ready to step into business ownership with confidence. If you're already learning sales like me, drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway so far. And if you're just starting, let me know what's holding you back. Make sure to subscribe because I'll continue to share my stories about ETA and sales. And hopefully I can give you a roadmap that I wish I had when I just started.